Welcome, Modern Talkers. This is Modern Talk. Modern Talk. Why? We're back. Is the light flickering? I have the lights off because the lighting's better. And, you know, the people that I went to film school with who definitely don't watch are going to be like, hey, isn't that lighting better? And it is. And you don't notice it unless you're me. But sometimes there's like a shadow like right there. But I turn all the lights off and then that fixes it because lights create shadows. Film school 101. More lights aren't the solution. I remember that. And the Megatrons are out there fighting, and I know there's only one Megatron, so the nerds are gonna come at me. But it's funny how it's like comforting now that I hear the Transformers fighting, because it's familiar to me, and I know it's gonna happen like clockwork. And I don't know, something about that. I wonder if you guys feel the same, or like, the freaking sound is bad again. I wonder if that's what they think. They, meaning you. But, you know, you gotta keep it PC, because you don't know. You had to have heard that. Someone just got body slammed out there. Needs to go to a repairman. Yeah, you gotta keep it inclusive, baby. I painted someone's face. And it's good. It was good. For me, for my first time. I mean, someone's really getting it tonight. And it's the morning, so I don't know why I said that. But you might be listening to it tonight. And you might be listening to this in the morning and then pause it and then watch the rest tonight. And then that way I'm right. So you can't come after me. Yeah, I painted someone's face, and it was really good. Everyone, I didn't even know him. I met him for the first time, and I don't know if he liked me or why he liked me, but like, we didn't really even talk. He was just like, he knew me through a friend, and oh no, there are people coming in. Oh no. Oh no. Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Awkward. Some people walked in. That's why something happened. I don't know how I'm gonna edit it, but so yeah. Yeah, I didn't really know him, and I guess he just thought it'd be funny to have someone do his face, and I was like, well, what do you want? I can't draw anything. Do you want a stick figure? Because even that, you know, the circle will be hard for the head. And he said a dragon, and I was like, well, I'll never do a good dragon. And so I looked up a few things on the internet, and I was like, oh, I feel like I could simplify this. Okay. And so I did it. I did like the first kind of pass at it, which was just one color and like the base of it. And people were laughing at me, and I knew, dude. I was like, oh, if I could do that, I could probably do the rest. So I did that, and people laughed. And then I was like, you know what, dude, I'm gonna show them. And then at the end, people were like, oh, that's pretty good. And I'll show you on here, obviously. And then if you're listening to it on the purest way, just through audio, I'm glad they're having a good time. That it'll be on TommyWaite.com/ you know, whatever podcast. And so that's really, you know, I'm really proud of that. And I got my face painted with Pete and our cinematic arts friend, Sarah. who definitely doesn't watch, but maybe she will now because I said her name. We got like sky themed for some reason, so I got stars. She did the stars, and then Pete did her moon, and then she did his sun. So we have a picture of that, and it's really cute. It's one of my new favorite pictures. I thought about putting it as my background because I don't know, I don't really have a good background anymore. And I had it as like my logo for a while, and it's like, all right, dude, because I have it on the back of my phone, on the case, and then on the screen, both screens, the lock and the home. So it's like too much and tiring. And right now I have a picture, but it's like doesn't look framed well. Another film school nerd kind of thing, but it just doesn't look good as a background, me doing stand-up. But that's how it is, and I wanted that to be my background, and I was like, that's kind of weird. It's like just two friends, mutual friends or whatever. But it also wasn't framed well, so I was like, those two things kind of make it not interesting or important. But that's my life in terms of phone backgrounds. I thought about this as really sad. Sorry to get so sad so quick, but to think that pictures, this kind of actually is apropos, pictures don't actually capture a lot of the time real joy, and it's just, oh, did my smile look okay? Like that's all you're thinking while you're doing it, and then after you do it, and then you redo it to make it look better, and you never, a lot of people and me, but I just realized this, that you don't think, like think of something that you're grateful for, and then smile, and then take the picture. Like that's such a good hack, and it's a good excuse to think of something you're grateful for, and you'll be happier. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that I think I talked about my poop app before, and I don't care really about how much that looks like, because literally only Pete sees it, so it doesn't matter what I really look like. But I definitely, you always want to look good a little bit. So yeah, I think that's the key, is to actually try to find in yourself the happiness to make you smile. I mean, that's like what an actor does. So if you could do that, you're an actor. What else was I gonna say? Yes, dude, I forget. Oh, I know it's hard to believe, but I don't always look this good. I always shower before this, and then I usually put product in my hair that just like kind of firms it. Not firms it, but it's like a curler or something, so it binds them to make it more curls. So boring. I just saw, I've been editing a lot, which is good, but I just saw in my head the last few words that I said in a waveform. So that's cool. It's so weird. What was I saying? Yeah, I don't always look this good. And I don't remember what I was gonna say about that, because I just thought of that on the way here, and I was like, oh, I'll talk about that. And then now I don't know why. So that's really great. Yeah, we'll just we'll keep it rolling, and maybe I'll think of what it was. So like I was saying, try to be grateful for stuff. That's something that's really, I'm trying to focus on as a person that wants to better myself. And I don't know what I'm gonna say, but you'd think since I paused and drank, I would have more time to think about what I wanted to say. But instead, I was just like, oh, I needed this. Yes, that's really, really nice. Okay, I need to say something and I don't know what to say. So I'm too present, dude. I'm too present to be a podcaster. It's cool when you get those things that you don't know that you're going to say, and then you're like, wow, that's actually really well phrased, and it just came right off the dome. And sometimes that happens in my head. I'm like, wow, that's such a waste. No one will ever know that I said that phrase, and it was so cool. And then you try to manufacture it later in a conversation, it doesn't work because you forced it. Okay. The song is coming along. He finalized he gave me 3 kind of songs that are 30-ish seconds, a little bit over that. And so I'm gonna use those variously. And he's gonna put out a 20-second one to put at the beginning of every one, and then I'll put the other one at the end, which you already know because it already happened for weeks. But I'm starting the new season of Tommy in Touch with Tommy, and obviously you already know this, but I guess I'm still working through it in my head a little bit. So I'm on the 4th one, and once I get the 4th one done, I'll start putting them out, and that'll be exciting. And after the 4th one, I start going into the video podcast, which is this. So I'm gonna be unleashing podcast Tommy soon, which is exciting because I literally be doing this for at least, over a month for sure. Maybe I'd have to look, but a long time, and it's to no one. Isn't that so funny? I said this to no one right now, and no one has heard it for months, and it's just like I'm a crazy person talking to myself and recording it and watching it back later. That's so insane. Oh my gosh. I need a producer an editor who does this himself, because although I like doing it, dude. I like doing it. And I don't know what I would do without it. Even though I definitely would. I have so much other stuff that I want to do. But for some reason, this is what I chose as my priority. I don't know if I talked about this, but one thing about me, stubborn. That's a big thing. But I use it in right ways usually. Obviously not all the time. Do my best. And so my rule is, I don't know where this came from, really. I think it came from Sammy, actually. Anyway, Sammy, you know Sammy. I talked about him, I think, last podcast, and he was on the podcast like 40 times. AKA 3 maybe. But I remember he said, I don't know why, but once something gets on, like a bracelet or anklet or whatever, once it's on my body, it stays until it comes off, because it's going to come off, especially if it's like a flimsier one. It's just going to happen. Things happen. And I went 2 years with one that I was really precious about. I think, yeah, I definitely talked about this. So I'm really proud of that one, but I wish it was still on me. But the other one I had on, I should have waited. I'm gonna wait to talk about that. That's a teaser. I'm trying to keep this in a somewhat of a flow, how I'm talking, but I do have talking points, and not like super written out, but yeah, I'm just trying to be grateful, and it's hard. Maybe we talked about this recently. Sometimes I I write stuff down, and it is a little bit more wordy, and I think that I talked about it already, and but I haven't on the podcast. I just like imagined me doing it, and then wrote down what I would say so I wouldn't forget it later. And then, so in my head, I saw myself do it. So I was like, I think I did that already. But now I'm nervous that I talked about being grateful, but it's always good to talk about being grateful. It's always a great reminder, because you get lost in the mundane things of life. And so you gotta remind yourself every day if you can. Well, you gotta remind yourself every day, and then if you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. And be grateful for the opportunities that you can. So my AC in my car is out. Yes. So I finally have that, poor person thing to check off the list. You hear about people talk about that. Well, I have. Like, oh, I had this, 52 Chevy, whatever, when I was younger, and it had no AC, and it was only an AM radio, whatever, or it didn't have AM radio. I think is you had to pay extra for AM radio back in the day. I have no idea why I know that, but like anyone listens to AM now even, so it's like, who cares? Like, don't tell that anecdote. But I don't even know what the difference is. Like podcasts are it, dude. They overtook AM and FM. What do they stand for? AM, PM, what do they stand for? Anyway, who cares? Like, what are those? There's so many things that we just don't know and don't care about. And acronyms for radio stations is one of them. But people say, yeah, I had no AC and it was terrible, but I wouldn't give it for anything. And I love that car, whatever. And I just have a 2012 Camry. And so it's not like a cool, fun car I could tell my kids. Although it is a hybrid, so maybe all the cars will be electric by then, so they'll be like, oh, you were in it before it was cool, like 2012, that was a million years ago. That's so weird, yeah. It's so weird getting old, man. I know everyone talks about that, so I'm not going to talk about it, but maybe more articulatively later. I don't know if that's a word, but it kind of sounds smart if I just said it right the first time. So yeah, the AC in my car is out, and I never thought that was a big deal because of just roll your windows down. Like, it's kind of very close. And sure, it gets a little bit hotter, but it's definitely worth having that cool classic car. Maybe not as your everyday car, but just, whenever you're feeling fancy. And then it happened to me, and I'm in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, and yesterday it was 87% humidity. So it was 81, but it felt like 91. And it just felt like you were swimming. And because the air was so wet, it's so gross. It makes you sweat immediately. And it was terrible. So I had to put the windows open, but then my hair gets all whoopsies, and it's so annoying. And it was still super hot, and like I was literally sticking to my car because it was wet. Gosh, it's terrible. So I have to get that fixed, but I'm not in a super hurry for some reason. Well, because I'm busy. My parents are in town this week, which is really nice, and gaining 10 pounds every day, because all we do is eat. The weights love to eat, is what our friends say. And so I always have to go on a diet after they come, and that's just how it is. But it's so good and it's so fun, and I love it, dude. So I'm not gonna not do it. I did curb it a couple times, which I'm proud of, but so that kind of I'll come back to that. It's another. I'm ruining the flow by trying to keep it in flow, but here we go. My AC being out in my car reminds me of a couple months ago when gosh, wow. Yeah. It was actually less than 2 months ago. And, well, around there. Yeah. And I got a flat tire, and I don't know why. Um, it was like completely blown. It wasn't like, cause it was such a terrible experience. Thankfully, it happened in a place where I could pull over fairly easily, and I pulled into just like a plan, like a neighborhood, and I called this roadside assistance service. Well, first I called the cops because another time before that I had um, uh, my tire blown. A cop came to make sure I was okay, and then he was like, "Oh, there's this service that puts on your tire for free. It's like a South Carolina thing," and I was like, "Okay," and so I called the non-emergency line, and I don't want this to get too long and boring because it can get super long and boring, because I ended up being there 6 hours in my car waiting for someone to help me, which is obviously insane. But some of it was my fault. Shouldn't have been there 6 hours for sure, but maybe an hour or two was my fault. Still way too many hours. So I called the non-emergency line for a cop, and I didn't want a cop to come. Like, they didn't understand what I was saying, which is so frustrating because I said I said it a good way, an understandable way. But those people just get so many calls, and they're just so over everything, and they don't want to listen unless it's something dire, and it's a non-emergency line. So it's like, well, okay, we could send someone out there whenever it's convenient. Like, that's just that's their whole thing. And so they're like, yeah, we'll send someone out. And I was like, no, it's not that I want a cop. I want the service a cop told me, so can you help me with that? And I said it even better than that, but because I thought about it, but I just said it off the top this time, and it was a while ago, so I'm not obviously going to remember the wording, but when a guy finally came to help me, the cop left me there for 2 hours, like all the cops, I guess, left me there for 2 hours, and then finally a cop called and was like, hey, just wondering if you still need assistance, which is, I don't know if that's a tactic that they do, that they think this is not a real thing that we need to attend to, so let's wait a couple hours and then it'll probably fix itself, and then we'll call and leave a message and say nothing. So that's what happened with that. And then I called a service that comes with my car's insurance or something, and so it's kind of free technically. This is already too long and boring, but long story short, Lort, as I like to say, that's from Cashing In. But a guy came and he thought he could just do the old patchwork and then let you go, but it was completely, like, the side was ripped, and because I don't do things halfway, dude. I don't get little punctures and then it's over, dude. I blow the tire. Non-repairable. That's how I roll. I don't do things halfway. I go full blown. I got so serious. It's like Mr. Miyagi or something. Call back. All right. So he couldn't get the tire off because it was so stripped. The nuts. Sorry. Sorry for the crude language. The the bolts or whatever were stripped because I went to Walmart the last time my tire got blown, not leaked, and they stripped it because it's Walmart. And my ex's dad recommended it, and I was like, isn't there like another place? Like, Walmart's not good quality. And I didn't say that, but he was like, yeah, that's where I go. And I was like, man, okay, if it's good enough for then I guess it's good enough for me. And they did it cheap, and I got lucky because they had the tire that I needed, and they did it really quick because I got there at 7 a.m. when it first opened, or 6 or whenever it opens. Probably 7, but not that it matters. And so I was like, oh, nice, we did it. And then 3 months later, or whatever it was, my tire got my tire gets blown, and then they can't get the thing off because they stripped it at Walmart because bad quality, obviously. So I went to a different place this time, obviously, and they did great, and it was super expensive, but I'd rather not sit in my car for another 6 hours and pay twice as much or whatever it was. Gosh. But that's the price of feeling safe. And I think that's you can't skimp on some stuff, especially car stuff. Like, that's how you get places. And then you just have to Uber everywhere, or reliant on friends, which is super inconvenient for them and you, and time consuming and all that stuff. So there's some stuff you just can't skimp on. And I actually just edited one where I talked about that at Goodwill. Like, get stuff that you don't need like super like good stuff for. Like the comforter I got, it's so good, I love it still, and it's perfect. But so update on that. But yeah, Goodwill's great for stuff, but definitely don't get car parts from Goodwill. That's the moral of that story. So I feel like I've been in a funny flow lately, and this is actually the thing that I thought I said on a podcast already, and maybe I have, and I even misremembered that. But from listening to Cashing In, that definitely helps. Kind of always in that funny thought mind state. But since I'm in that flow, I feel like sometimes my brain recognizes an opportunity to be funny, and then after that, I don't need my brain anymore. I just let the funny kind of come through me, if that makes sense. I know that's kind of, weird. I can't think of another word, but kind of hippy dippy a little bit. But that's like, I should trust my instincts more in all the I did that deep breath thing where you do, and it's supposed to get oxygen to the brain and help you remember stuff, but didn't work. Wow. I have all this experience. Wow, that's not even a hard word. Gosh, that's embarrassing. I have all this experience, and I've, I hate when people, like Drake said, oh, I studied rap, and he said he studied, oh wow, I'm completely losing my mind. He studied rap battles or diss tracks, and it's like, you probably just listened to it and you're really good, and that's what happened. But maybe he did study it, but that's kind of what I do with comedy. Obviously, I listen to it and then I think about it, obviously, but I don't like read it out in a textbook, and that's annoying because you never know what he means you would never know what he means by studying unless you asked him. And even if you asked him, he'd probably give a roundabout answer like a politician. But how annoying is that when people ask politicians, it's a simple yes or no answer. Do you hate black people or whatever? And then they're like, you know, my dad once said, and then it's like, well, you obviously hate black people. Anyway, so Drake's a racist politician against black people, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So my instincts from my studying kind of come through me, and that's how it's been happening, and that happened sometimes before, and I didn't really think about it that way, but that's really what it was. And because I don't know what I'm gonna say like as I'm saying it almost, and that's really insane because I almost always know what I'm gonna say before I say it, and except when I'm drinking something. Then my mind's completely blank for some reason. But I think we're getting up on the time here. And I hate when people talk about the time on the podcast because the time's always different. It's a completely different time and place, and I could have cut a whole chunk out because of, you know, technical issues or whatever. And so it's like, oh, I've been going 30 minutes and it's actually like 10 minutes. And then people are like, it's not been 30 minutes, it hasn't. And then they look and it's 10 minutes, and then they don't acknowledge it because they don't know at the time. I don't know why that really bothers me. Maybe it bothers no one else, but the guy should be coming soon. It's the only reason I brought that up at all. And I have a lot left. So I think that's really interesting, and maybe you could use that in other parts of your life, but I can't think of any now. To kind of recognize something and then let like your heart or whatever you want to say, you know, let whatever you want to have happen flow through you. And I think my shoulder is better. I don't know if it's completely back to normal, but I looked in the mirror yesterday, like like this is normal for me, and maybe it's a little bit up, but I think it's definitely like this looks down, right? Or wait, this looks down from this one, right? Because I showed you last week that it all the way down was normal. So I think I'm still young, dude. I'm still young. That's the important thing. I did an open mic last, whatever, who cares? But it was at a wine bar. Maybe I talked about this place before, and I know what I'm gonna say next, so I'm gonna take a drink. And there were a bunch of old people there because it was a wine bar, obviously. And so I think I did maybe talk about this another time, but there was actually a lot of people there because it was a Friday night. The other time it was like just 6 old people. And I have nothing against old people, obviously, but they're not gonna laugh at me. It's not my demographic. And it's not as fun to make them laugh for some reason. Like, you want to make the people that are close to you laugh. Anyway, I like making everyone laugh, obviously. Like, it feels good when old people laugh too. Oh my gosh. But I don't think they like it as much either, because they're like, I can't really relate to this stupid kid. And that's what the real thing is about, is making the other people happy. And I don't think it makes them happy, which makes me unhappy. So I had my first attempt at crowd work, and after I talked about, because everyone's doing guitar and singing stuff, so it's different. There's a different sound you want for when it's just talking. because I don't know if you could tell, but when people talk, I don't know who goes to open mics, but when the musician tries to talk in between songs, it's like, I can't hear you, dude. You might as well just be you might as well just be saying nothing. Just get to the next song. Because they put the reverb on there and stuff, and then it's like I have no idea what you're saying. So so when I got up there, I was like, can you hear me okay? Does this make sense? And they're like, oh yeah, that's good. And I was like, okay, now I'm gonna get into the stuff. And I was like, okay, this was my first attempt at crowd work. I said, how are you tonight, sir? And he said, what? And huge laugh. And I'm like, oh man, what do I do? So I guess I kind of skipped ahead in the story, but I haven't really done crowd work before, but I want to do it because it could just make it fresh and it's more minutes, and people feel more invested, involved. But I'm afraid to do it, and I don't even know how to approach doing it. But I finally found a bit that's a good way to approach crowd work. So the thing is, I say, how are you? And they say something, and in my head, no matter what they say, it doesn't matter. I could say either this thing or this thing, and either way I could get back to the bit that I want to do. And since he said something that I'd never considered, which was what, and knowing what he said and why he said it, and everyone getting a laughter, it's like, oh, okay, I can't ask this guy again. So it was terrible. I panicked. I didn't anticipate him getting a laugh after what he said. And then I decided to ask, I was like, okay, I just have to kind of vamp a little bit for a second, and I don't even know what I did, but and then I was like, should I ask him again, or should I ask someone else, or should I just forget about it? But I ended up asking someone else, and I asked the lady because I felt like this is racist or whatever, sexist, but I thought she's less likely to say something crazy. And she said one of the things that I thought she would say, and then I went into it, and it went well. And then the premise of my next bit was this is so annoying. So I love this. This is the real plight of a comedian with an older crowd. But so the premise of the bit is, I read that 22% of people who wear AirPods have had sex while having AirPods in. And so the premise is, who's testing that? And that got a huge laugh, the biggest laugh I've gotten in a long time, mostly because it's the most people I've performed to in a long time, in a long time. And and it got a huge laugh, and then that was the biggest laugh that I got. And then I did a whole, like, literally 3 or 4, maybe not that much, like 3-minute thing about the act out of a scientist interviewing a girl about her experience. And it's very absurdist and weird, but not super scandalous. And then at the end it has a twist. It's one of my favorite bits, actually, of all time so far, because it's standalone. It has a statistic. It has an act out in voices, and it has a twist at the end. So that's one I need to work on a lot, because the act out part is 2 people talking to each other, and I told you who they are, obviously, and in doing that, going back and forth, is tough, and the way it's written good. Like I, call it how I see it, but it's written in a way that doesn't super make sense, but it has misdirections in there, which I think makes it a better written piece. So if I nail that, then it should just go off, explode, but like explode with laughter or whatever. But it's hard to memorize that way, and it's a little bit harder to follow that way because you're not reading it. So maybe I have to simplify it a little bit. And that's what I said about, I think I talked about this last week, the Karate Kid. You can't overwrite stuff, and that's always my first instinct. But I don't know if I overwrote it yet, but I should try it because I forgot stuff in the moment. Because you could rehearse it, and then the energy is so different, so it happens like that, and that's just the way it is. But man, okay. So but the people that I went with, Mike, he ran the thing. He said it was so good, which I really appreciate. And he didn't even see like the best version of it. So imagine if he sees a better version of it. So that's exciting. I'm trying to think if so what I took from that, the crowd work thing, it was a great learning experience. That always remember what just happened and incorporate that into the next thing if you can. So what just happened was the sound thing, and so he incorporated, which was good, but I didn't know how to adapt to that, and I need to be more intentional about rolling with the flow. What's up?
Didn't want to disturb anything.
Oh no, that's good. So one of the benefits, obviously, of my parents being in town, many things, but one of the things is have an excuse to go get ice cream and do fun stuff. So one of the things that we did was we found a place that said it had home handmade ice cream, and so we went to that, obviously, and you just don't do it as a local, but there's obviously good ice cream places here because it's a hot place and a touristy place, so that obviously means ice cream city. And so we went to this one because it's south, way more south than I would normally go, and but it's close to them, where they're staying, and we went there, and obviously I'm excited because handmade is always better. So I was kind of on the fence. It was hard ice cream, which usually soft serve is more fun. But anyway, so for some reason I was feeling key lime pie, and I saw it had like the brown stuff in it, and so that usually means it's good. So I started eating that, and the actual key lime pie ice cream was really tart, and I didn't want that, and I know some people like that, so that was fine. But the actual brown stuff, which should have been in my head a graham cracker kind of crust thing, but it didn't taste like anything. It just didn't taste like anything. It was a nice texture, but you had to have like a whole gobble of it to have like any taste of it. So I was upset, and I got 2 scoops because I was really excited about it, and I ate half of it, and I didn't even want to eat half of it, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm doing this just because I feel like I should, and I'm getting fatter, and I don't need this. So I didn't eat it, and I was being a little bit grumpy, but not overtly, just to myself grumpy. And then my mom noticed, and she's like, you want something else? I was like, no. She's like, why not? Just, there's no line, just go get it. And I was like, I just don't need, I'm getting fatter and all this stuff. And then she's with every year my family gets a house with their friends, and one of their friends related something. There's kids there, so one of the kids, I think she's 7-ish, but she was eating ice cream and she was loving it. She got a peanut butter and some peanut butter sundae something, and that looked really good. And I was like, oh, I wish I liked that, or I wish I got that, and I wish that I hope she doesn't eat all of it, and just for some reason she gives it to me, which we're not even that close, and that probably shouldn't even happen because germs. But she ended up not doing that. Her dad ate it, obviously, but so she was next to us while we were having that conversation, and she kind of just said, like, offhandedly, she said, I want to get it right. She just said, get it while you can. And I was like, that like just like completely changed my mindset and mood. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's totally, like, little kids are right. Little kids are almost always right with that stuff. And because you get bogged down, you could think your way out of it, like, tell yourself a story, like, I don't need it, you know, it's a waste of money, whatever. But really, anytime objectively, if someone asks you, do you want ice cream? Do you want the taste of ice cream? You always go, yeah, I'm gonna get it while I can. So, little kids are right, and I love that. And actually, I have this little satchel. They call it a drink purse, and she gave this to everyone at the house, and I think it's really fun to be fun. So, so I'm keeping it on at least all week, and it's not like super greatly made, so I think it'll. I'm not going to keep it on long term, but honestly, this would be something that I would consider, even though I have this that I could hold it from. But it's still kind of fun and funny. Yeah, it's fun. Little kids make it fun sometimes, dude. And yeah, I don't remember what else I wanted to say about that, but oh yeah, a drink purse, or as I call it, a drurse. So that's the stupid joke that I wanted to say for no reason. And then I thought about I have an open mic tonight, and I have no idea what I'm going to say, which is great, and I hate doing that. And and it's supposed to be it's like a family. It's a coffee house, which is more my speed, obviously, more so than a freaking wine bar. But there's just like so opposite of my, like, I don't drink. It's all old people. It's just so not. But you gotta get on stage. So this is at a coffee place, but it's more like family friendly. So I can't do, because the bit that I talked about, the 22% of AirPod users thing, talks about sex. So I don't want to. I could see how people could be annoyed or offended by that or whatever. So we're gonna have to think of another thing or do an old one. But I'm trying to think of a thing to say about my AC, because that happened yesterday, and I thought that'd be funny kind of thing to bring up. That's real, and so the only thing I could think about so far is how I'm happy that it happened because I don't have to give anyone rides. No one wants to ride with the guy who's sweaty and you're sticking to everything in there. Maybe maybe I could go with something about when I do get my AC back, I don't tell people that I got my AC back, and then I just it's just so stupid. I rub like rub kind of candy over everything, so everything's still sticky except my seat. So I'm like, yeah, it's still see it's sticky, you can't, you know, I'd love to give you a ride, but to the airport, but you know, it's sticky. I think you'd be more comfortable in an Uber, something like that. I don't know. I just thought of that right now, that second part. But so what I was gonna say is, this is the last thing, and you know that because you're looking at the time, but or you could at least if you wanted to. The wrist thing. So I had that philosophy that I don't, that stubborn philosophy that once something goes on my wrist, it stays there until it falls off. And I was kind of thinking, I was wondering if that had a deeper meaning of kind of enjoying the present, because, you know, stuff on your hands and ankles aren't forever. They're gonna fall off somehow. And so like enjoy what it is now, because it's gonna rip off, which is kind of really sad. But unless you didn't want it on your thing. So I had this, you know, drug rugs. I'll put a picture of it. It's those, I don't know how else to explain it, but it just has like a bunch of strings strung together. So my ex had a yellow string hanging off, so she cut it off, and then she spontaneously tied it on my wrist, and then I thought that was cute because that's our favorite color, and it's from her, you know, her stuff, and I like that. And then we broke up, and so it's been over 3 months, and that thing has been on for a long time, which it just looks so raggedy. It looked like it was about to fall off the first day she put it on, and I mean, I'd say at least 5 months. Well, she was wearing it, so it had to be like at least when it was colder out. So it's been on there forever. And then recently it's been like looking really ratty, and there's a part that was thinner than the rest, and I was like, that's the weak link. That's the part that's gonna get that's the part that's gonna get got. And and then yesterday I was helping someone move, and I was, you know, long story short, it was at Dominion, the TV station I work at. They're moving stations, so they're moving studios, and I was up in the ceiling dealing with wires and stuff, and it's dark up there because there's no lights in the ceiling because lights are in rooms. And so it gets looser because it's getting worn out and stuff, so it caught on something, and then it fell off, and I was like, wow, it finally happened. And that's one of the things that it like felt like I was holding. That was a thing that made me like hold on to that energy longer, and I was conflicted about just like, oh, just make an exception for this, like you gotta take it off. And I was like, but like literally every day I'm like, this is probably gonna be the day. And it wasn't for a long time, but finally it was. So and when I did like this, you know, I always felt it, and I did that, and I didn't feel it, and I felt free. And I don't know if that's just purely physical, or if that was some deeper meaning thing, but yeah, so I just want to update you on that a little bit. And I was also looking at my past pictures, like in my camera roll, for this podcast, for an earlier podcast, obviously not the one in the future, because I'm gonna put them on my website, TommyWaite.com/podcast, and I saw pictures of my ex and I together, and I'm gonna probably delete them in some form soon, but or at least get them off my phone, I mean. Anyway, so just because of this stuff, and I was looking at some of them, and I'm like, wow. I was like looking at the pictures objectively and saying that sort of version of Tommy seemed really happy, and I guess I was disassociating in a way, and I don't know if that's healthy. Let me know in the comments if that's healthy or not. Yeah, I was kind of looking at myself as a past me version or something. But I was scrolling through and happened to see a picture that was particularly cute of her, and my brain said, I love her. We love a setback. That makes me feel so naked and gross. saying that my brain did that. 'Cause like, you could lie to yourself, but deep down, you know how you really feel. But things take time, dude. Wow. Things take time, huh? I guess I'm not as far as I thought. But I'm still, but I am farther than I thought at some times too. So it's like it's never this, it's this after a breakup. Gosh, that's terrible. It's just so annoying because you're like, dude, I'm doing it, I'm killing it. And then it's like, I drove past, whatever, the Build-A-Bear place. And then you think of them. And then it's back up. I haven't thought about them in 2 days. Wow. Well, I thought I finished the podcast, but my phone died. So the end of it got cut off, but it was like my ex stuff. So that's the second time I talked about that extensively, and then a technical difficulty happened. And so I'm taking it as a sign to not talk about it as much. So that's what it is. And I just wanted to come back on to say I had to charge my phone up to do this. Took a little potty break. But so there's people here now and making lots of noise. So I don't, this is what it is. And I got other stuff to do. Okay. I just want to say thank you for being here. And you're welcome for doing this. And I don't know if people are watching this or not, which is crazy. I could be viral now, and I don't even know. But yeah, I'm still talking to no one, so that feels good. I think that's it. You guys know what to do. Do the stuff that you do. And, this is called In Touch with Tommy, but really keep in touch. Like, email me or whatever you want to do. Talk to me. DM me, whatever. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what you liked about what's going on with me, even though that's way in the past, but I still want to know what you think about it, and I could still be going through whatever's happening, or I still think about that time fondly, or I just really like that story and it was funny and I want to, hear what you have to say about it. So yeah, that's it. I love you guys, and I hope this made you think, and please keep in touch. Gratitude.
Welcome, Modern Talk. This is Modern Talk. Modern Talk. I hope this made you think. Why? How?
What's up, bro?